Alright, Niners, so yesterday morning we did get the news that in the month of October, as expected, we are getting 2 sets of Limit Breaker quests. Currently, we have one going on right now, which is a more beginner-friendly quest, allowing newer players to get a feel of the game mode, and also in general for everyone to get some extra rewards. The current quest has it so there's only Quincy's, the enemies themselves have significantly less HP, and in general you can kind of bring any character you want to. Because it is a beginner-friendly quest though, the rewards themselves are less, as in this case you can only get 310,000 Transcendence points and also 50 Spirit Orbs. But as the showcase of Byakuya did actually tease, we are getting a second set of Limit Breaker quest, and in this case it is starting on the 11th of October. So if you haven't already gone ahead and done the beginner-friendly Limit Breaker quest that is available right now, I would recommend go and do it. It literally takes 2 minutes of your time, and you get free rewards. But the great part about that is because we are getting 2 sets of Limit Breaker quests, in this case the normal traditional hard one coming out on the 11th, it also does mean everyone gets more rewards in general. Because this quest, while it isn't stated in the news post, should be giving the usual set of rewards, which is around 600,000 Transcendence points and also 50 Spirit Orbs. And I'll be honest, if Caleb want to do this for every month, I would gladly take it. A beginner-friendly one, and then a difficult one, so you get the best of both worlds. You get the easy one where you get to use any character you want, you get the difficult one where you challenge yourself more, and in general, everyone just gets more rewards. Now, with that said, this Limit Breaker quest is going to be potentially a bit difficult, I will be honest. Because I think slot 1 and 2 is a bit restricted on what characters you can bring. And the killer effects being relatively high means if you have a character that is potentially heart ranged, you know, they are going to perform less if they don't have human killer. And then likely in the second slot, if they are a technique character that is melee, if they don't have the realm killer, they're not going to be nearly as good. The quick TLDW, though, is that they want you to bring Byakuya in slot 1. Of course, he is the new Limit Breaker character. Bambietta wants to be used in slot 2. She's actually returning while this Limit Breaker quest is active, by the way. We don't really fill up all, but we can see that on step 25, you do get a pity ticket, which seems to let you pick any 1000 G Blooded character, which I guess is kind of cool. And then slot 3, I think the idea is for you to bring Rukia, because you do want to bring a Mind character. Whether they're melee or ranged doesn't matter, but there are storybers, so Rukia will actually get her increased chance to inflict status events. Would you want to bring Rukia? Probably not. You might be better off bringing someone like Yuhabak and or White, for example, but in general, I think they want you to bring Rukia. That doesn't mean she's the best character in slot 3, but you might be able to get a use out of her in that particular quest. With that said, though, let's have a look at some of the better characters that we actually can bring. So in slot number 1, we want to bring a heart character. That is, of course, a ranged character with human killer. And in this case, what you are going to notice is that there's really not that many good characters. Of course, the ideal character, the newest one, is going to be Byakuya. Now, Byakuya, of course, as expected, is going to be really good here. I mean, in this case, he has human killer plus. He's doing 40% more damage to human enemies. His damage output in general is really high. Increased strong attack damage plus 40% at full stamina, 60% berserker, 80% spiritual pressure boost, and also most importantly, he does give your entire team, assuming you are bringing 3 Soul Reapers, which is unlikely because slot 2 wants you to bring Bambietta, but if you put a Soul Reaper in slot 3, they are then doing 30% more damage, which is really cool. If you decide to use your Soul Bomb on his stage, he has weakened defense, and he also has Poise Break. Although, to be fair, you are definitely not going to notice the Poise Break, mainly due to the fact that you have a very high chance to inflict status ailments, in this case, weakening and also paralysis. So once you inflict a status ailment, I mean, even though you are going up against humans, right, who can be very toxic, you are pretty much just guaranteed to paralyze them. They're stuck in place, they can't move, they can't attack, and then you're doing, what, 70% more damage? That's kind of crazy, right? 80% more damage, actually. If you don't have Byakuya, it's definitely going to be a tad bit more difficult. Again, more so due to the fact that you are going against enemies here that have poise, and they are humans. Now, if you were considering it, don't bring Kiryu. Just don't. She's not worth it. Her SA2 is doing less damage. No. I mean, actually, I'd be kind of curious to see how she would perform, but I would not recommend it. Kiryu is kind of mediocre. Just more so due to her strong attack here. She has a good set of skills. Strong attack-wise, though, not so much. I think Retsu is a bit too old, and Aaroniero, I might try him out. He's actually somewhat decent. I mean, granted, he came out as a mid-month over a year ago at this point. So, you know, standards are different. He only has Frenzy 1, no SP boost, but he does do 40% more damage to drained enemies, plus the extra 35. He has the increased chance. There's potential. And he also has, like, the extra 40% side. No Frenzy 2, no SP boost, but he does have, like, a high strong attack damage. And I guess he has the dodge, too. So, you know what? I'll actually give this character a chance. Granted, I have him 5 out of 5, which, by the way, I did from summon tickets. In the course of one summon session, I literally never had the character. And then I ended up max transcending almost just from like a couple thousand summon tickets. I wouldn't say Aaroniero will be a general good pick, but he might be your best option as far as hot human killers do go that are ranged. Your next best thing though, if you can't bring a good human killer, let's say you don't have Byakuya, your next best thing to do is just to bring a hot character that is ranged. And in this case, another month of Limit Breaker, you can bring Toshiro, right? Toshiro, of course, is going to be a good character here. He will be a tad bit inconsistent compared to what he usually has been, more so due to the fact that his increased chance is only against Quincy's and also no affiliation enemies. He does get most of his damage from inflicting freeze, since he then does 140% more damage on top of the fact that he does get the 80% spiritual pressure boost. But his strong attack here is good. He's going to have no problem against the easy enemies. Once you get to the poise stage, that's when it might become a bit more RNG dependent, whether you do inflict a status element or not. Although remember, he does have an EX attack that likely will be inflicting status elements, so you do have that as an extra lifeline. I think everyone's go-to will be this character if you do not own someone like Byakuya. Other than that though, because we know these enemies are going to have significantly higher HP, it can be very awkward bringing anyone else. My first character that comes to my mind as always is going to be Ruroka. Whenever we are forced to bring a hot range character, which to be fair has happened a lot of times now, Ruroka is always decently good here. She does give your team the 20% strong attack damage buff. She is a character that can heal herself, so if you are being a tad bit careless against these human enemies, which is very easily done given the fact that they have crazy fast activation and crazy range on their attacks, her having Drain will allow you to get back up to full stamina and potentially allow you to continue the quest despite you getting hit. At the same time too, she has the team party heal, so she also has that going for her. Unfortunately for her though, again, because she doesn't have killer, it's going to be a tad bit awkward here, and she'll be significantly slower when compared to Toshiro and also Byakuya, more so Byakuya. So I would say the top 4 picks are likely to be Byakuya, Toshiro, I guess Ruroka, and also the hot Okura. Anyone else, I feel like that damage output isn't going to be nearly as good. If you have any of those 4 characters, they are likely to be your best bet. When it comes to slot number 2, actually, hold on, let's not do that. Let's look at range characters that are human killers, because maybe that potentially exists. I guess worst case scenario, if you really want to, you can maybe throw in Quincy Ichigo in slot 1. He isn't getting the 2 times heart damage buff, but he is getting the 4 times killer effect. He is getting killer, and he is also getting the 2 times range damage. And I guess the special thing about Ichigo in particular, to maybe make it work, I mean, we are really stretching it here, but he does have the recharge in between stages for any technique strong attack character. If you have him max transcended, you could probably make it work, especially if you do pair him with the character best in slot 2, which of course is going to be Bambietta. Slot 2 wants you to bring a melee character that is technique with a ranker killer. In that case, you want to bring Bambietta, the swimsuit version. Like I mentioned, she is going to return during this quest being available, and it absolutely hurts me that I do not have her, because I kind of forgot that I even pulled for her. I did 2,000 orbs on an individual banner and did not get her. Would have loved to have her in slot 2 because she's actually a really good character. And you know what? While Ichigo in slot 1, Quincy Ichigo isn't going to be as good, of course, as Byakuya. You know, that added fact that you're getting the recharge in between stages and the fact that you are giving it to Bambietta, therefore making it so she's even faster. You know, that time you're saving might be enough for Ichigo to be a substitute to get into upwards to stage 20 plus. But of course, Bambietta is going to be great here. She is a limit breaker character. Honestly, what maybe Rukia should have been, because despite her having guild quest skills here, she also makes her a really good character in limit breaker quest. Increased chance to inflict status summons against any Aranka. She has a Ranka killer. She has long stride built in. She has a good damage output, frenzy 2, 80% spiritual pressure boost. And then also, most importantly, she will be giving your entire team 20% more killers. So she'll allow Byakuya to do even more damage. And then if you are using a character in slot 3 that has killer, they will then be doing more damage. Like I mentioned though, if you are going to attempt the Quincy Ichigo and Swimsuit Bambietta combination, it would also make him clear faster, just a tad bit, because he would then be getting 20% more killer effects. One great thing about Bambietta too, which definitely is worth mentioning when it comes to Limit Breaker Quest, an increased chance to inflict paralysis and also lacerate is a very powerful combination. Lacerate will ensure that you never have to really deal with the poised enemies, because you're basically just having them stuck there paralyzed. And then lacerate, I mean, that does millions of damage per tick because these enemies have so much HP. So the fact that she herself is constantly paralyzing, she's buffing your team, she's doing more damage herself, but the lacerate is like the cherry on top just to make sure you can get that extra bit of damage. And it also means too, you can give a damage to lacerated enemies plus 40% to get even more damage. Honestly, Bambietta is actually really impressive. I'm definitely going to do at least 2 discounted steps on her banner when she does return, because I want her. I want her, want Dupes and Menina, and also, of course, do want Candice, the swimsuit version. Now, other than Bambietta, unfortunately, like when she first came out, melee, technique, and Ranka killers suck. Like, there's no good character user. There really isn't. You can maybe make a case for this Tsukishima. I wouldn't even bother. I would then recommend just bringing your next best Ranka killer. That is a melee character. You're missing out on the 2x technique damage buff, but it does open up the doors to potentially use characters such as Uryu, for example. Most importantly, though, and unironically, maybe the character I'm going to use, Kilgay. He has killer, he has the melee damage, and of course, it's Kilgay. He has a really high damage output, especially with the rampage that gives him more damage the more kills he gets. He has a great strong attack hit, but he also does recharge his strong attacks in between stages. He's a very self-sufficient unit. When he's next available, all his strong attacks are back and ready to go, and that will save you extra seconds. That makes up for the fact that he will be slower on the poised enemy stage. Overall, I feel like Kilgay might be the next best character to bring if you do not own Bambietta, and I feel like that's who I'm going to bring personally. As far as other melee Ranka killers do go, none of them are that great. In that case, though, your next best bet is to bring a technique character that is melee-based. And in that case, you know, to be fair, your options don't open all too much. Your next best characters are going to be Ichibe, I guess. Maybe Safui Gin. He can inflict poison. That might be good for him. I'm not sure if Ichibe would be quite the good character. He is actually really good with the gauge effects, getting extra frenzy and also berserker with the weakening. He has the long stride. He starts at the gauge at 70%, and he's all about having the gauge at max, right? Against the non-poised enemies, you'll likely be refilling their gauge quite often, but you're definitely going to slow down on the poised enemy stage, and the Arankas are probably going to be jumping all over the place. He'll definitely be an awkward character to use, but maybe if he's your best bet, you might as well give him a try. I'll give him a try. I'm curious to see how he is going to perform, but I'm not expecting all too much. I guess a honorable mention, because it is wanting you to bring a technique character. In all honesty, like Grammy here does not have killer. He's not even a melee character. He is just getting that 2x technique damage, but it's Grammy we're talking about, right? Frenzy plus 3. Almost like 100% berserker with more damage to stats affected enemies. While he doesn't have an increased chance, he has a tracking vortex with frenzy 3. I mean, he will probably be a good character here to bring, especially if you have him duplicated, even though he is only getting the 2x technique damage. At the same time, his EX attack does give you the debuff and also buff, so that would therefore allow him to clear faster and also even your teammates. If you're struggling to find a character, but you have Grammy, even at 1 out of 5, again, he might be your best option, even though he shouldn't be good. But it's Grammy. It's the best character in the game that we're talking about here. Other than that, though, I think that's all it is for slot 2. I guess quick honorable mention, although not the best here. But she is an Aranka killer. She is a technique character. She doesn't have the greatest strong attack hit, but most importantly, she does have Lacerate. Like I mentioned, Lacerate itself is doing millions of damage per tick. So if you can get lucky and inflict stat with this character, the idea with the poised enemy stage is that you're not kind of brute force your way through it with damage. You're brute forcing your way through it through stat. I did it in the past, and you can likely do it again. So don't sleep on Rangiku. She might actually be a good character in slot number 2, despite it not really going in her favor because she is, again, a ranged character. Are there any other good Ranka killers that are ranged? I mean, Aizen might be worth bringing if you have, again, no better character. He's a Naz character, consistent damage output, worth trying if you have no one else to bring. And then your final character in slot 3, you know, to be fair, you don't even need to bring a melee character. All you gotta do is bring a mind character. Slot 3 is quite good here in this case. Because, I mean, the final enemies themselves are heart characters anyway. You are likely to bring mind characters. So, in this case, like I mentioned, Rukia. I am coping here. I am just wanting to bring her to see how she does perform. She will be giving your team 43% more stats, so that is something to maybe consider. If you do have Byakuya in slot 1, it will allow Rukia to do 30% more damage, so that will be really cool. And like I mentioned, the thing with Rukia here is that she does have an increased chance to inflict stat ailments on her strong attacks, but only against Soripers. But this quest does feature heart attribute Soripers, so that would actually unironically make Rukia a good character. I would say if you have her, definitely bring her, try her out. I don't think she'll be as bad, and this might be honestly the few times we can use it in Limit Breaker as a decent character, because again, she's never going to have killer, and that will make it very awkward to use her in. Alongside that, Ishin, of course, is an amazing character, very similar to Bambietta, right? Even better in this case. I mean, he's a mind character. He has a high damage output. He has even Rampage too, so his damage output is going to be crazy high. He is going to be doing a lot of damage, going through his quest super fast, and when you do start to the slowdown against the poised enemies, well, in this case, you have an increased chance to inflict burn and also lacerate 2 damage over time stat as augments. I already glazed lacerate as a stat as augment. It's really good in Limit Breaker, but in a way, it gets even better when you pair it with burn, because in this case, he's doing even more damage over time through those stat as augments, and he has an increased chance to do it. Ishin might be best character in slot 3 in all honesty. If you have him and you also have Byakuya in slot 1, again, he's doing more damage, 30% more damage through the Byakuya skill. And if you are like me, who doesn't really have the best character for slot 2, I don't own Bambietta, well, the amount of time that I'm saving by using Ishin will come in clutch, I would like to say so, and let you spend more time on that slot 2 character. So Ishin's going to be really good. I would say Ishin's going to be best in slot 3, even more so than someone like Yuha. But again, it really depends. They both have great things about them. Ishin has its increased chance to inflict lacerate and also burn, which I think is really valuable, and he's getting the buzz from someone like Byakuya. In the case for Yuha, I mean, damage output, he's also equally as good. He's still really good here, but Yuha gives you that extra soul bomb. So, you know, Yuha will also be clearing his stages relatively fast despite him not having killer here. He is getting the 2 times mind damage output, and it will also potentially allow you to clear a Byakuya stage faster because you get to use that extra soul bomb. But also, most importantly, the benefit that he might have is that he can spam his strong attacks in between stages because he does recharge it in between stages. He also gives that to mind characters, but you're likely not bringing any other mind character. So I would say slot 3, best in slot, is Ishin. Close second is going to be Yuha. Maybe you can get away using Rukia. And as always, good or reliable, you can always bring 8th Anniversary White. In his case, though, he actually has Killer, but remember, Killer isn't all that important. There isn't any killer damages here. You know, you're getting the usual 20% more damage to Sorobit enemies, but I would definitely more so opt into use Yuha and also Ishin over someone like White. But White is definitely going to be a good option. He's an anniversary character. You might own it. Other than those 4 characters, though, I mean, I guess you could just bring anyone else, right? I mean, you know, the rules itself is just bring a mind character. You could bring 7th Anniversary Ichigo if you really wanted to. As far as mind attribute Sorbas do go, in all honesty, there isn't that many. Momo I wouldn't recommend bringing, so White is going to be the only like really good character that has Killer in slot 3. A close second with Killer is going to be 7th Anniversary Ichigo, but he isn't as far as you want him to be. So on your screen right now, I think this is going to be my team for this particular Limit Breaker quest. Slot 2, I'm kind of indifferent if I want to use Kilgate or Gremmy. I feel like Gremmy is going to be better for me, given that I do have him max transcended. Whereas Kilgate, for example, is only a special move level 1. But like I mentioned, Bambietta's banner is going to be returning. These swimsuit Bambies are coming back this month in less than a week's time almost. And I definitely will be doing the 2 discounted steps in the hopes to potentially get Bambietta, and then I can use it in slot 2. In the comments below though, let me know what team you lads are using, and I'll see you lads next time. Take care, and peace.